up, guys? Welcome back to the Poi N Soy podcast. I am your co-host, Keoni McKeague. This is...
I'm Nolan Tcheng. Welcome to our podcast.
Shirai, welcome.
Bang, bang. All right, so today on the docket, bang, bang. Yeah, exactly.
Bang, bang.
I don't know when that started, but it started. It's a thing. I do it now all the time. I don't know why. I do that at work. I do that like when we're playing.
Anyway, welcome back to the podcast.
Welcome back to the podcast. Anyway, so we're going to talk about the NBA playoffs. That'll be the singular topic for today. There's so much to discuss. A lot of things happen, a lot of random injuries, a lot of other things that were going on. So we're going to be talking about all of that in today's podcast. So let's start with some somber news. Let's pour one out for the homies. Chicago Bulls. My team was eliminated in a surprise upset. I just couldn't believe that they lost to the defending Milwaukee Bucks. It's just...
In the illustrious words of Nate Diaz, I'm not surprised.
Hey. We respect the Chicago Bulls.
Hey,
even though they weren't even meant to make it.
You respect the Chicago.
They weren't even meant to make it this far. So I'm just glad that they even got.
My dad's a Bulls fan. I've been giving him gripe for it all my life.
My boy. But yeah, so the Chicago Bulls, they got eliminated in 5. In case you didn't know, unfortunately, they did not take advantage of the fact that Chris Middleton was injured. They absolutely should have. Nolan, hit me with some of your thoughts on that entire series. Defending Milwaukee Bucks, the resurging or surging now currently Chicago Bulls. What happened?
I mean, to be honest, it was your series to lose at that point once Middleton went down. I think it was a kind of kick in the butt because what was it, Game 5 that Levine was in health and safety protocols.
Yep.
You kind of lost that little edge, even though Game 4 was a little bit of a good speed bump for you guys. Considering was it like
we also lost
30?
Caruso in that same exact.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of just a bad series of events. I think the Bulls team at that point could have not easily, but they could have definitely taken that series. But it just the dominoes fell where they did. You couldn't really stop what ended up happening.
Yep.
Giannis. What can you say about Giannis?
He's
gonna dominate no matter what.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, right now, he's the number one player in the damn league. Like, LeBron is still, he's gonna be in the GOAT discussion, but Giannis, as of right now, his athletic prime, his playing prime, he's starting to hit jump shots, which is super scary. But other than that, yeah, there's just no way in stopping him. I mean, he got the dominance of Shaq down low with like this crazy athleticism of like young LeBron. So
yep, the
crazy.
Pick it up the court no matter what.
Exactly. So
what do you think, Jared?
I'm gonna swing it over to you. What's going on?
I gotta agree with Nolan. Like, it was just serious to lose, but at the same time, you gotta think, like he said, Giannis is the best player in the league right now. I mean, I said it.
Yep.
I agree. Freak of nature, just athleticism. Like you said, he knows how to spread that floor, and he plays both sides of the ball. That's one of the biggest things. He's not just going to dominate you on the offensive end because he's big and strong, like you guys pointed out. But on the defensive end, like he's going to shut people down. He's going to protect the rim. He's going to come up with big plays, and that's literally what it came down to. I mean, like you said, in general of injuries. They lost Lonzo, Caruso out, Levine, who's been the money scorer for them pretty much all season and can do it on both ends of the floor as well. Like that's a tough loss to have. And so
I'm gonna add also.
I mean, he can play one way. I don't know about these things. I mean, Levine's my boy, but let's be honest, he ain't defending nobody.
I mean, he's not gonna defend the rim, but he'll man up for you.
I was gonna say though,
I love you, Zach Levine, but
the build of the Bucks is, you have to think about, a lot of it is that team core wise is the same team that came back from last year. Bulls, a lot of the new players that were key players are brand new, and those were the ones who went down. Sure, they had 82 games to get that chemistry, which they have, but in the stretch of it in that series, if you're going to lose, your core players, Caruso, we've talked about Caruso last episode, DeMar, he's carrying what he can, the load, but losing Levine, and then you guys didn't have Lonzo, who was a good facilitator the whole time. You guys had that huge run the first half of the season. So it's going to be kind of difficult to see how they're going to manage it off season, because obviously I don't think you're going to try to move any of those pieces. but it should be a team that returns the same next year, if not better.
Bouncing off of that, what you just said, for me personally, Lonzo would have definitely helped with Grayson Allen going, like, I think it was 14 of 20 from three during the last three games where they eliminated us. Because Grayson Allen, first of all, forget that guy. But second of all, that dude, he was hitting some shots during that thing. But I was so upset with him when he committed that flagrant on Alex Caruso like midseason,
and then gave him the wrist injury.
But I mean,
yeah, exactly.
That's been Grayson's MO since when he's been at Duke.
See, and like, that's my thing. I'm like,
that's just one thing that he's always been known for.
You can't be like that, especially now in this league. Like, I feel like we're slowly trying to steer the boat away from being like the dangerous league, and we're moving into like health protocol league and like safety and concussions and all this other stuff for like, you know, keeping players safe.
But I think that's funny. It's because a lot of the time everyone says, oh, this league is so soft now. Back in the 90s and the 80s, it was all hardcore. And then one person does like a hard ass foul and they're like, oh my God, he should be suspended for weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's just, all right, well, what do you want? You got one or the other. Pick one.
I mean, and I know we're jumping away from this, but Draymond literally got ejected for a hard foul today.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so I mean, like they're trying to be, oh, we're not soft, but you're not allowing the same type of physical play that you were allowed back in the 90s, which is
agreed. And I'm gonna hit some last points on the Chicago Bulls so that we can move on to some of these other series. But as far as the Chicago Bulls, I think you're right, Nolan. I think there's definitely not going to be much movement throughout the offseason. However, I also know that Arturas Karnisovas, who is the general manager for the team, I think he has something already working, whether it be to find somebody to replace the defensive big man that we didn't have in Nikola Vucevic, or to find some sort of shooting or whatever it might be. Because honestly, as soon as we get the team healthy, we get Lonzo back so he can start defending on the perimeter. We get Caruso back and he's healthy and able to continue doing what he does throughout every single game. I think we have a shot next year, but it's definitely going to take a lot more than what we got.
Let me ask you though, based off of that, because
sorry, keep going. No, I was saying they predicated. We can run on each other.
Go ahead, Keoni. Go ahead.
No, you first. Not me first.
Poi and then Soy, right?
They predicated their initial success on the big three basically just going off on offense. I mean, when they were at one point like averaging 90 points a game, just the three of them, like obviously that's not sustainable and that's not something you should be planning for to continue to happen, because teams are going to catch on and they're going to focus on that more. So anyway, sorry for cutting you off. What were you saying?
No, I was going to say also for the Bulls' point of view, you know, you're talking about you don't have the big man who is defensive in that respect. Do you need a defensive big man or do you need the stretch wing? Because Patrick Williams, he was supposed to be your stretch four the whole year, got injured beginning, pretty much was supposed to be out season long, came back near the tail end. Can he be that for you next year if they develop him over the summer to be a little more, 3-and-D or something like that, just so that he's there? Because I feel like this is the way the league's going. It's a stretch four kind of ideal to have your best defender.
To be, it's funny when he started this year at playing with the team, I actually imagined him more as a four, but throughout the year, he actually was showing more of a tendency to like play the perimeter, to be the guy who they put on like their outside wing, and he was playing more of a small forward role, which a lot of guys are saying like, oh, okay, that's why we got to go out and get Jeremy Grant from the Detroit Pistons so that he play that four next to Pat Will. But I was like, to be honest, I see him more in the four role. He's a little bit slower footed. His shot is like a set shot. It's one of those shots where it takes him forever to kind of like launch the ball. You know what I mean? Like he's not quite as quick as he needs to be like hitting shots from the outside and being our three guy. However, I will say he was having a hard time defending Giannis, which I think anybody would have a hard time defending Giannis. But his inability to be like solid moving side to side was kind of his downfall in defending him. And he is packed on a little bit of muscle since he got into the league, but I think if he packs on just a little bit more, he'll definitely be solid, because that boy has some hands. I don't know if you see the pictures of his hands. They're like almost bigger than Kawhi's hands, and Kawhi has massive hands. Hence why they call him the paw instead of the claw, which is, pretty crazy. Anyway, that's the Bulls.
We'll do this. Welcome back to the podcast. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but we are back.
right where we left off, we were talking about John Morant, part of the Memphis Grizzlies, second round right now versus the Warriors. They're off to a good start. Today they just dropped game one to the Warriors on a Clay last minute shot. Keoni, you were kind of going off about John Morant and the Grizzlies. What else did you think about it?
For me, the biggest thing about John Morant's team is I feel like they're pretty well constructed around him. I mean, you got Steven Adams on the team. You got Jaren Jackson. First of all, Steven Adams and Jaren Jackson together, that's a pretty scary combo. You got Jaren Jackson, who's basically the ideal stretch four guy, and then you got Steven Adams, who is just an absolute monster as far as defense. He's a dude who sets some scary picks. I mean, if you guys watch those videos on YouTube, it's kind of crazy. I swear, guys are getting concussions off of just him setting a pick. I mean, the dude's solid. I mean, he's Polynesian, that's why. Poi. So. Nah, but anyway,
Yuta Watanabe,
Soy. Rihachimura.
Yuta Watanabe. Is he even in the league anymore?
Yeah, he's in the Raptors.
Wow.
Damn, dog.
Wow.
My bad, dog.
Come on, bro.
No.
I mean, he ain't making the impact Steven Adams is making him.
Sorry, technical difficulties again.
Technical difficulties.
Technical.
Technical difficulties. The gas
No,
station.
we were talking about
sponsored by
Golden State and Memphis, and I was just about to. Oh my goodness! This is why we can't have nice things. No.
It did sound like
Welcome back to the podcast.
Technical difficulties.
Welcome
Welcome
every
back.
time, all
Oh
the
my
time.
gosh.
couple of testicle difficulties.
I hope you cut this out. Points. If not,
So,
he's gonna.
Let me ask you guys this question.
Clay's gonna do
I've
Clay.
had this discussion with some friends before. Do you, because going off the words, do you guys think that Kerr was handed a completed meal before he got there? Because you see a lot of coaches who get hired to be a part of a team. Mark Jackson was the coach right before him. The Warriors were already kind of on the up build. Obviously, they let Mark Jackson go. They brought in Steve Kerr that year. They win. Do you think? Because you see coaches like Spoelstra. He started his tenure with LeBron, D Wade, Chris Bosh. He got his chips. And then after they left, he's still showing his worth as that coach, bringing them back into the playoffs, making them championship contender teams. Do you think we're not going to know about if Kerr is actually a solid coach, or was he handed ingredients that he was able to cook with, or was he already handed a complete meal and he just happens to be the one holding the reins?
I'll let you go first, Keoni.
Okay, well, sorry, yeah,
No,
sorry,
you're good, you're
already
good.
started talking. That's my
No,
bad.
you're
Sorry.
good. You're good.
But you know what? Actually, I'm gonna let you talk first because I don't want to. I feel like you're always talking last, and if I talk first, I might hit like all your points before you get to talk. So, there you go, Jared.
Thank you.
And
I appreciate it. No, I
anyway.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little of both. I mean, Mark Jackson brings a certain type of thing to a team, and I think he did amazing things with that team. Don't get me wrong, but I think Steve Kerr just brought in that. I don't even know. It's just that zest of he's a winner. He's won how many different championships? Mark Jackson has not won one. You know what I mean? And to be able to say that I played with the greatest of all time, which is debatable, but I think I grew up in the Michael Jordan era, so I can say like I love Michael Jordan. I think he's amazing, and to play with that and get.
Well, let me ask you this, because kind of going off that point where you're saying like Steve Kerr's won championships, but like we discussed it, he was a role player on those championship teams. You think of what one of the best coaches in the history, everyone kind of brings up Phil Jackson. In his tenure as a player, where was he on that kind of, you kind of look at it that way. Like, sure, you can be a championship person, you can have a ring as a player, but that doesn't necessarily transfer over to being a coach in that respect.
But I think he's played under Phil for so long in so many different orgs. And then he went to go play for Pop, right? And that's two of the greatest minds in basketball when you think about it. One created the triangle, the other one is just he's done it for so long at such a high level that I think
he definitely leached.
Things that you pick
leached
up
in a good way. He leached off of what he got.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the way I approach the game of volleyball now is because I'm old. I've been through a million coaches, And I've learned, and I still try to learn every day, day in and out, from new players and new things that I get to do. And I think Steve Kerr has so much experience around him, and he's got to play with so many great players that he's taken the best things of those players and given it to his team and saying, hey, if you don't believe me, like, this is work. I've played with people who have won championships. I've had the best coaches of all time, and learning from those
Yeah.
little aspects, I think you grow. I mean, as a coach, that's how I grew. Every day that I played volleyball or that I still play volleyball, I look at it from a coaching aspect of like, hey, I've learned this through the years, and it works for me, so
That's an
that's why I'm
absolutely great
better
point.
because
Yeah.
of it. And I think, and and I'm not saying Mark Jackson didn't put in the work, because he did. He was given the best hand. He did the best with what he was dealt with, and I think he got cut a little too early. But I mean, when Steve Kerr came in, and the only rebuttal to my argument is, look,